What's going on, you guys? We're back again for another video, and I thought I would just hit you guys with a little midweek check-in. I was sitting on my bedroom floor all ready to do this just by myself for me, and then I thought, let's see if anybody else wants to participate. I have a feeling that this is going to be good, not just for me, but for everyone else. So let me know down in the comments how your guys' weeks have been, how's it going, any plans you guys have for the end of this week or this weekend, because I think I'm just going to do kind of a basic 3-card reading. We're going back to the very, very basics of tarot, maybe the first reading a lot of you guys did if you've ever read tarot for yourself. Just kind of a past, present, future, which I normally try to stay away from for bigger readings, but for things that are just basic, like a midweek check-in, I actually find that it's really perfect because you're doing that short-term, not quite a daily draw thing, but you're giving yourself 3 cards for 7 days, and I think just like a 2 or 3 day behind you, 2 or 3 day ahead of you reading is, I find that it works particularly well for me just because, sometimes when I try to do 3 cards, like if I try to do a full season reading, like if I do 3 cards for the next 3 months, I don't know, I just find that it slips my mind a lot. Maybe I just don't have the attention span to be pulling out a card once a month. I think it can be a decent exercise, like especially if you're doing like a full year spread, but I don't know, I find that I like reading cards more often than that, and sometimes doing a daily draw can be a little bit daunting, whereas, I don't know, 1 card a month also just seems a little bit lackluster to me. So let me know if this is the kind of thing you guys like, or even if just one other person wants to watch it, hang out, get their cards read. I don't know, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. We got my nice little foliage wall in the background. I think it looks pretty good on the camera. Although what you can't see is that it basically just covers the exact length of what's in the shot. I'd ideally like the camera to be a little farther back, but, that's not where we're at right now. So without further ado, I've already been talking for like 2 minutes. I think we're just going to get into it. What do we want to do? Do we want to do past, present, future all at once, or do we want to start one by one? I think we'll just do one by one. I'm just shuffling them in my hand, and I got the first one. So I think we're going to start with the past. So this is just kind of where you guys and where the energy, where whatever has been for the last couple days. We'll say vaguely, I don't tend to do like a specific, like, this is your hard day, where it's like, oh, this message really resonated for my Saturday, but he said it cuts off at Sunday. So I kind of vaguely think of it as like end of last week to the weekend, Monday, Tuesday. Present, I'm kind of thinking like Tuesday, Thursday-ish, or even if you want to go as broad as the full Monday through Friday, and then future anywhere from like the end of this week into like next week kind of deal. So, not too specific, but there is kind of like, I don't really appreciate when tarot readers try to do like oh, this resonates for you at any time, whenever, whether you're watching it now or 10 years from now. I think you can pull knowledge from any reading at any time, but I think it can be a little bit of a mistake to say that it resonates perfectly at all times. So I do like to put a little bit of a cap on it just because, it's the reading for this week, watch it this week or don't. If you want to go back, you're welcome to watch it, but it's not the same as watching it that week, All right, so past card, without further ado, Judgment. Interesting. So I think what we want to be looking at, I was reading, I was just going through, and I like to see a lot of different interpretations for the different cards, and I saw some kind of popular tarot website, and it was saying that Judgment was sound the trumpet, like that's what the Judgment card meant. That was the little blurb they had for the Judgment. And I'm not exactly sure what they meant by that, because I feel like sound the trumpet doesn't really mean anything. Like a lot of the other things were like, oh, the world is in your hand, or be careful of fake friends, or blah, blah, blah. But for the Judgment specifically, they just sound the trumpet. And the way I had always been taught, and the way that it's kind of become relevant in my own life, is just the consequence of your actions, or just to check in that you're living in alignment with the values you have. Maybe you felt a little bit of a shift. I feel like my energy has been pretty in flux over the last couple weeks, maybe months. I feel like over the summer there were some more big changes, and then the last few weeks it's just been kind of small adjustments that just get a little overwhelming over time. So I would say that the Judgment card, specifically in reference to the last couple days over the weekend, has to do with making sure that we're living in alignment with our value. Maybe you, like me, are going through all these little mini shifts. You're calibrating, readjusting. We're coming out of the summer into the fall. A lot of those, that means schools, or even just a shift in our work, or a shift in life in general, whether or not you're going back to school. Maybe you have kids who are going back to school. friends who are going back to school, or maybe nobody you directly know is going back to school, but your work kind of shifts depending on, are kids in school, are kids not in school, are adults taking their kids places after school or whatever. A lot of people, even if they're not directly impacted with that, will see changes come this time of year. And I think this can be a really good time to make sure you're checking in with the values you have. Maybe we have a few more months left in the year. Maybe this is a time you want to be setting goals. Maybe this is the time you want to be seeing what you have accomplished over the past few weeks, few months, maybe since the beginning of the year. We are kind of at that harvest festival time. The day I'm filming is just a couple days after the first official start of fall. It's the equinox, MABON, if you will, if you celebrate that. I'm not really huge into the whole Celtic festivals things, but I will say I do celebrate the equinoxes, so I think this can just be a reminder. Check in, see where you are, maybe even do like microcosm, macrocosm where you've been over the last few months, microcosm, how is that reflected over the past couple days. So I think this can be a really good idea to just check in, see what's going on there. Specifically, if you want to look at your spiritual views, because judgment can often have those overtones, it really comes as this divine judgment, and really kind of reflecting on how your spiritual path has been influencing your life and all that. Specifically, when I always think of like the rapture, I think that's kind of what judgment's getting on. And I want to know, let me know if down in the comments you heard there was that thing where apparently a lot of people on TikTok thought the rapture was happening today. It was on a Tuesday, which is when I'm filming. It's before midnight, I think. So let me comment down below if you were expecting to get raptured today and didn't, or someone you know was expecting to get raptured. Maybe they did. Comment down below if you got raptured. Anyway, next card. This is the present, so maybe just kind of this work week. I'm probably going to try to put this out on Wednesday, so Wednesday specifically, like I said, it's a little vague. It's a little, there's more of kind of a feeling, a vibe of the present, so like yesterday, today, tomorrow. So this is kind of what you want to be directly focusing on. Again, the last card we were looking more at reflecting. This is kind of what's going on directly in the moment. What do you have now? Is this the card I want? For those of you guys who don't know, and I don't really know why you would, because I'm not sure that I've talked about this before. The way I normally shuffle is I just kind of, I'll put this to the side because I think that is the card I want. I just kind of have it in my hand while I'm talking, and I'm doing a lot of this. And I just want to say shout out to my friend, because she actually, this is her tarot deck, and she's letting me borrow it for basically as long as I want, because it's been sitting on her shelf for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden I was over there one day and I just saw it and I was like, whoa, all of a sudden I really need this deck. She's like, well, you can just like take it. I probably won't ever want it back, but keep it around in case I do. And I was like, deal. If you ever want it back, take it back. But I'm getting a lot of good vibes off of it, so I think I'm gonna keep it, use it for readings for a while, and it's been pretty potent. You know, sometimes when you pick up a specific deck, even if it's a deck you've seen copies that are pretty similar, like this is just a basic Rider-Waite-Smith, something about just the backing, it's a little bit bigger, the color grading on the actual pictures, and then just like all that kind of coalesced into this vibe of, I don't know, really potent energy. And every time I've done a reading, I've just been really impressed by the way it's performed. Anyway, I'm probably getting off topic. Let's get back to the present. Clearly I have a lot to say because I'm just rambling. We're 8 minutes in and I've only pulled one card. All right, this is an interesting one. We are looking at the 8 of Swords. So that has a lot to do with like binding and mental anguish. Again, I can't remember what that website, it had a few weird ones. I remember that, again, this isn't the website I learned on. It was just one I was looking at today. About the different card meanings, and I feel like they also had a weird one to say about the 8 of Swords. But anyway, this has to do a lot with your own bindings. A lot of it, specifically the Suit of Swords, has to do with the mind. So a lot of people interpret this card, and this is kind of how I see it as well, is mental bindings, like you're coming up with a lot of mental blockages. So maybe you specifically, I know at least me, in relation to the last card of your values and how you are putting those into practice in your day-to-day life. I've been having a lot of mental struggles with dealing with this. Like, I have these values, I'm trying to live by them, I want to do these things quite regularly, but then there seems to be these blocks, and I'm just getting in my head about it. Like, let's say, for example, you told yourself this was the year you were going to get healthy, and you've been going to the gym somewhat regularly, but I don't know, recently it's just been a struggle. It hasn't been clicking. You know you want to, but there's just all these other things going on in your life, and it can just seem impossible from time to time, and you're really getting in your head about this. So I think this can be a potential warning and a potential challenge about the worries of getting in your head about it. Because even earlier today, I just was wondering, am I going to film a video? I have all these other things to do. I'm in school. Do I want to be spending time doing assignments? Do I want to be doing readings right now? What exactly do I want to be focusing on? I ended up going to the gym earlier. Like, how much time do I want to focus on that? And I found that I just really need to keep myself centered on a certain plane of self-love, self-acceptance, and what's going on in your present. Because if you just are constantly living in a state of expectations of yourself and always feeling like you're failing expectations, that just is a recipe to be miserable with yourself. I personally, I don't know if any of you guys follow Kellyanne Maddox, but she always does her Self-Love September. I know this year was a little different. She hasn't been focusing on it quite as much, but she still had a few things to say. And honestly, I even go back and watch some of her old stuff during Self-Love September. So if you're looking for any of that, I have to admit self-love isn't one of those things that is super calling to me on a regular basis, because honestly a lot of times it just feels very new agey and frou-frou. But one of the things I like about Kellyanne is she talks about kind of the dark parts of it, how it can just really be a struggle. I think she refers to it as like metal, like punk rock metal. It can be hard, it can be gritty. So I think this can just be a reminder to keep in your lane about that. You know, you don't want to be getting too much in your head. You don't want to be letting your emotions and your like thoughts, specifically like the way your thoughts impact your actual body. Maybe you're like dissociating, or maybe you're just getting decision fatigue. You are spinning, and then you find that the end of the day comes, and instead of getting only 1 or 2 things done out of your to-do list of 10, you got 0 things, and now you just feel worse. Whereas if you would have just gotten the 1 or 2 things done, you probably would have ended up feeling a lot better. So I think that's something you want to figure out for the next couple days. Just something to ruminate on, maybe how it's affected you in the last 24, 48 hours. And yeah, with that, I think we will get to our last card, because man, I've been yapping. So if you guys have watched up to this point, let me know. I'm giving you guys like an insane amount of homework at this point. I'm basically having you write a 5-page essay in the comments, and you know, if you do, I won't be mad about it. Ooh, is this what I want? I don't know. Normally what I end up doing after I shuffle for a few minutes, I kind of hold the card for a second and just kind of sense, is this what I want? I ask it like the question, repeat the question, and I'm just like, is this the card I want for the future? I think this is the card that I want for the future. Every once in a while, I will pull a card and I will ask a question, like, just for example, I'll be like, oh, this is the card that I want for the future. And it'll be like, no, but here's this other thing. And this is a card that tells you that, like, you need to know, I don't know, what your relationship with astrology is right now, or what you need to do about your parents or your romantic relationship or your kid. And even though that's not what you were originally asking, sometimes it just kind of pops into my head like, oh, this is a card for something completely different, but it is what you need to hear. However, with this card, I'm getting that this is the future card, so we're staying on track for this reading. Thank goodness. I'm already all over the place. I don't want to get too all over the place. All right, we have another major card. We have the World. See, I just love the color grading on this. I just think it's so bright, it's so vibrant. I find that a lot of the Rider-Waite-Smith decks can be a little pale, a little boring, and I just find that this specific one brings the art to life in a way that a lot of other cards don't. The World, the connection, a lot of people have interpretations of this card in terms of coming out of a cycle, but honestly, I think, especially because we got 2 major arcana cards, 2 out of 3 for this reading, I think this really is, despite being like a immediate future for this week, this like midweek check-in, is again what I said, title of the video, blah, 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 all that. I think this week is going to be a week where we are making decisions about our longer term. So again, it's not a reading for the longer term. I think it has to do with how this week could potentially have a greater impact on our future, say from the beginning of this year to the end of this year. And again, we are kind of coming up on the end of this year. We only have a little over 3 months left, but that can actually be a really good time frame if you want to plan like a midterm goal. So I think this week is going to have a lot to say in terms of our relationship to what we've been doing throughout this year as a whole. I think this week can be a really great week to reflect. We are getting to kind of that. We're well over halfway. We just started fall. We're kind of getting it. We're officially dark half of the year. And let me know, final thing, I'm not going to promise the final thing, but final thing, I always see the dark half of the year as from equinox to equinox. I know some people say it's solstice to solstice, but that doesn't really make sense to me because like if you're saying the light half of the year goes until Yule, like right up until Yule is pretty freaking dark. So I say is like equinox to equinox is the changing points from dark half of the year to light half of the year. So from my perspective, we have just entered the dark half of the year. And this is, a lot of people associate the dark half of the year as being really good for reflective. It's much more magic, witchy, depending on if you want to be working with spirits more, ancestors more, whereas opposed to the light half of the year, there's a lot more to do with gardening. There can be planting stuff in the earth. It can be a lot more about tangible changes, where dark half of the year can be about spiritual, mental shifts, planning ahead, blah, blah, blah. I know for me personally, I do a lot more spirit work in the dark half of the year than the light half of the year. So yeah, despite the fact that this is a week-ish, reading, I think this week could be potentially very important for our mindsets going forward, the way in which we have been aligning our values with the beginning of the year up until now, and then going in through the end of the year. And I think, again, our one warning just for the present that's kind of sandwiched in between those is just don't trip yourself out mentally. Take a break. I know I like to do those like clear mind guided meditations. I find those can be really helpful. I also like to do some other guided meditations. I know I do the YouTube channel Great Meditation. They have a bazillion different videos. I'll do the clear mind ones. Sometimes I do the energy cleanse ones. Occasionally I do the sleep ones. But I think for this week, the clear mind meditations could be really good for you, because the focus on those is not that you're trying to accomplish anything. It is solely just shutting down your mind for a few minutes. Give yourself that time to relax. And it also allows your brain to take a breather. And then for the rest of the day, you feel a little more empowered to make choices, because your mind isn't just constantly running. You have given it space to relax, and then it can be a little more productive. So with all that being said, we are almost 17 minutes in. So if you watched to the end, thank you so much. Feel free to leave your dissertations down in the comment after I asked you to comment like 10 different things. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good day. Hopefully you are enjoying the beginning of the dark half of the year. Hopefully your fall is going well. Let me know if you're going out to pick pumpkins or apples or setting up for Halloween. I know I'm setting up for Halloween. I am so excited for Halloween. I actually just ordered it was for my birthday a few weeks ago. I got a Nosferatu t-shirt. Maybe one of these times I'll wear it because it's really cool. It's from the like official Nosferatu merch, so it has the big sigil on the front and then a picture of the movie from the back, because I just rewatched the film maybe like a month ago, because it was starting to get a little bit cooler out, so I wanted to get into that gothic vibe. I know they have the Nosferatu perfume, which I also really want, but it's like $100, so I don't know. I haven't decided if I want it that bad or not, but if you have it and you love it, also, I'm trying not to say let me know down in the comments. If you guys don't if you're not getting the vibe yet, I'm really wanting just kind of a conversation. Or if you just want to listen in while you're cleaning or doing whatever it is that you do, then that's okay too. I appreciate it. But yeah, hope you guys have a good week, and I will see you in the next one.